share it. All right, everybody, welcome. Claire Wasserman here, founder, author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and of course, a book that is all about helping women level up professionally, financially, and you know what, professionally, financially, I just mean personally in life, right? What do you need to have more, to be better, to feel good? And the reason I do these lives every Monday is because I think specifically for job seekers is knowing that this is a very sensitive time in our life. We need as much support and community as possible. There's not a one size fits all advice. I mean, people send me questions all the time. And of course I have what I hope to be like pretty good things to respond to. But I just think the power of peer-to-peer sharing, right? Like what works for me may not work for you. We're all in different situations. And a lot of times at the end of the day, it just comes down to how much you have in your bank account, right? Like it can be a sensitive conversation too. So with that, that's why I love, to structure these where I'll give a little bit of a speech in the beginning on a certain theme. Today's theme is about experimenting, being a little scientist in our lives, ways to run experiments, how that's shifted things for me. But what I find most profound is when I hear from you. So I would love, I guess what I'll start with is the little speech that I prepared. But as I'm speaking, I would love for anybody here who is going through something. They don't need to have, quote, figured it out at all. They just learned some things along the way, right? I would love to invite you up. So you can put it in the chat and share your story. And then I'll, ask for those who are brave to unmute themselves and come on camera with me. And again, you don't have to have, quote, figured it all out. You don't need to have gotten a job or even gotten an interview or even quit your job yet. But maybe you are looking at things in a bit of a different way that you have found helpful for you. And so no doubt it will be helpful for somebody else. Okay. And I'm so glad to see some people in the chat here who are saying, that this has been helpful for them. Great. Just reminding ourselves we're not the only ones going through this. It's just so, again, profound. So today I wanted to talk about experiments because I'm somebody, and please tell me if this feels like you, I'm somebody who just puts so much pressure on myself to perform at like the highest level. And I have a great track record. I've accomplished a lot of things, but the goalposts keep moving, the stakes keep getting higher, and there's something kind of scary about having had a lot of success because now it's like you can't mess up, right? I've seen that actually a lot with I have twin brothers who went to an Ivy League, and I was always kind of envious of them. But now I've seen with their friends who went to the Ivy League, who joined all those consultancy companies, getting six figures, they're having a much harder time taking risks because they feel like they have so far, quote, to fall. Where it was kind of liberating sometimes when you're just at, quote, rock bottom, right? Where if you've been fired or your company failed or you didn't get into the school or if you feel sort of frustrated, well, I'm going to look on the bright side there and say, actually, you're already in the shit, might as well embrace it. So there's something to be said about just acknowledging the pressures we feel in our lives and figuring out a way, how do I work with, around, and through pressure? And I think the best way to do that, or at least for me, it's really been approaching my life, and not just my life, because that's very abstract, but my day, not just my day, because that's 24 hours, moment by moment. What would it look like if I were a scientist? So not even me anymore, just imagining to run a series of experiments around the things that I want to change in my life, instead of saying, here's the outcome that I want, because that's bad science, right? I mean, if there's any scientists here, please do jump in and correct me. Scientists, they don't start with the outcome. They have a hypothesis about how things might go, but it would be terrible to work backwards from this is the way it needs to be. That's not a good experiment. An experiment's about learning to isolate variables, right? So to create a condition to run a little test, experiment, I don't want to use the word test, where you can analyze, all right, what happened at the end of this experiment? And what surprised me, it's kind of allowing yourself to let whatever's going to be. Let me talk about, I'm going to give you some concrete examples in just a minute. But the first thing I'd love us to do is just imagine it's the end of the day, okay? And you're lying in bed, your eyes are shut, and you are just feeling so proud of yourself. You're feeling very calm, centered, grounded in your body. You have a little smile on your face, okay? It was a good day. Okay. Now, I want you, but I think the predominant feeling I would love us to have is pride. Okay, we're proud of ourselves, not of what we accomplished. Okay, because what we accomplished, that adds the pressure. We are proud of how we were in the world that day. Okay, how did we handle things? Handle things? Sorry, that came out in a weird accent. So how do we just like move through our existence? That is what we are proud of. Okay. And now imagine you are just walking through the day. Okay. What did it take to get to the place to feel proud of the way that you were? Okay. From the moment you open your eyes to where you are now. Okay. Now, this is an exercise we can do later on our own. But the next step to this is resistance, knowing that there's going to be a lot of shit thrown your way that's going to make it really difficult for you to get to the place where at the end of the day, you just feel so fulfilled, calm, grounded, and proud, right? I like to think of resistance a little bit like I'm in a like Mario Kart, because I guess that movie just came out. So you're in a video game and little bits of resistance just pops out of nowhere. Okay. And the resistance can be in the form of yourself, right? The inner critic, like jumping out at you, or then it's like your kids crying, or, your boss is demanding, or, boundaries, or, again, internal, external. And it just, you're trying to get to the next level, you're trying to, every time you try to jump to the next level up, you fall through some pitfall. Okay. There's all these things that are happening. Now, I want us to design a series of experiments around those resistance so that we can get to the end goal of closing our eyes at the end of the day and going, I'm just proud of the way that I was, okay, today. So what is really great about designing experiments around resistance is it forces us to really break everything down into its tiniest components and make an actual plan that we can integrate into a schedule, can actually make this work for us. So it's not just have a better mindset. Like, I'm sorry, we do our best to have better mindsets, but like shit happens. I want us to get very concrete in knowing that when this piece of resistance inevitably pops up, we have a way to approach it. By the way, there's of course massive construction that has decided to happen right outside my window. So if you hear that, I hope it's not annoying you as much as it's annoying me. Oh, wait, this is a great example. Resistance, right? Okay. So all right, so let's talk about actual, and I would love people in the chat, you want to pop in and just say, what is resistance for you, right? When, you're on the path to feeling pride and grounded at the end of the day, what is all the bullshit that is getting in your way, internal, external, okay? Now, let me just, and we're going to design experiments around each of those things. I'm going to give you my examples to help make this concrete for us. So first and foremost, it was for me, my inner voice default, what a bitch. Okay. I called her Hildebeest. Like my inner default was never kind, super, super mean. All right. Out of all of my resistance, if I had to pick one that if I worked on it, I knew other things would fall into place, that was it. Which, by the way, we can do this exercise too, where you make a list of all of your resistances, resist I, and then you can do it a hierarchy of if you work on it, which will have a cascade effect, which will make everything else easier. Because oftentimes, if you do work on that one piece of resistance, it'll knock out a few other ones. We're not there yet. Just start to like write it out for yourself. So inner critic. Okay, if I'm going to design a series of experiments around my inner critic, I got to really get to know her well. So starting a track, right? Like a good little scientist, getting, anytime that she pops up. Where is she popping up in my body, by the way? Because that will, I find, be very helpful for all of us in these resistances that we go through. We oftentimes are approaching it from such an intellectual, analytical standpoint, and we make changes that somehow never stick. And that's actually because we need to approach it from a more healing modality, and it's really in our body. But I won't go too deep into that because I know it's a little woo-woo. But where does she pop up in my body? When does she happen, right? And not just the moment in which the inner critic pops up, but let's backtrack. There had to be a series of things that probably happened that then triggered her. Conditions. Does she tend to happen when I'm really tired or hungry? Right? Things like that. Is there a certain person that does it, right? So first, when you are looking at all of these resistances, get to know the conditions in which they tend to come. Okay, that's one. Feelings of overwhelm. I don't have enough time to do things, right? Oh, my never-ending to-do list, feeling really scattered, right? We got to start breaking that down because, quote, feeling overwhelmed, that's a really abstract, big thing. So if you can try to dig deeper into Like, what does overwhelm actually mean for you? And manifest, where does it manifest? How does it manifest? Journaling is a great practice. Give yourself every day, just start tracking this stuff. So that's an experiment in and of itself, where don't put pressure on yourself to do a whole bunch of things. Maybe just say for the next week, I'm going to journal, beginning and end of the day of when I experienced any kind of resistance. And you might want to define what resistance actually means for you too, right? So for example, I just got a notification yesterday that says I've been spending 5 hours a day on my phone, right? Now, if that would be fine if I could tell you that I was creating content and posting it, but no, I don't do any of that. I just lurk. Okay. I'm spending 5 fucking hours lurking. That's not the kind of person I want to be. Now, I forgive myself for it because we are biologically predisposed to seek short-term pleasure, but it has long-term negative impact, right? 5 hours a day. So here I am, one of my resistances is feeling overwhelmed. I don't have enough time to do things. I'm spending 5 hours a day on my phone. Here's the challenge though. How would you design a series of experiments around making that kind of change, right? Because you could say 5 hours a day, like get it down to 1. All right, well, in a series of experiments, you're not going to go from like 5 hours to 1 hour probably. So how do we get it down to a little bit? And how do I do this in a way that isn't going to be super hard for me also? Same thing with, I don't exercise, or I didn't used to exercise. I want to exercise 30 minutes, 3 days a week. How can I set up a series of experiments that are going to like almost guarantee my success? Because that's the other piece. We oftentimes set these challenges for ourselves in a very aspirational way. Like, yes, in an ideal world, we would be doing that. But we don't go from being today with all of our issues to like the ideal self in a week. I'm going to keep using the word series of experiments to ladder up to doing that. Give you an example of how I might design some experiments around this. And then I'm going to throw it to you all. And I want us to have a discussion about the resistance that we're facing in our lives and how we can start to chip away at it. So for example, moving my body, telling myself, you got to just get on the bike, even having a friend accountability, none of it was working. I would not do it, You know how I do it now? When I have stuff, so every day, 6 days a week, I have to move my body in some capacity. I'm going to ask everybody to just mute if y'all don't mind, as much as I love you all. Let me just go and, somebody's doing a little sniffling. I mean, I'm just proud we don't have trolls. Good for us. You guys are the best. Okay. Actually don't even see how I can mute you. So let's just keep going. Oh, here we go. Mute all. Okay. So I looked at my calendar and I said, hey, if there's something that I'm doing that would be a less than 30-minute walk, I normally drive, I live in LA, I'm going to walk now. That worked. Okay. So now I walk. Or I really like to get this coffee, that's down my street. And there's a podcast I love to listen to. The only way I can justify getting my coffee instead of making it at home is I use it. I run there and I walk back with it and I listen to my podcast because that's one day. So between that and the walking to go to do the things that are within 30 minutes, all of a sudden I looked back and I said, oh, wow, I just did that 5 days in a row. And it was seamless. Okay, that's interesting. Collecting that data, right? So it's not about adding something totally new to my calendar, but rather integrating it into the way that I'm already living my life. Interesting. Okay. Another experiment could be, when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I have so much to do. I'm going to now just like step outside or do some jumping jacks, like physically remove, right? Noticing that I'm like really in my head and my heart rate's up. So having like some kind of exercise I can do that, grounds me, calms me, gets me back into my body, allows me to see my work in a different way. Or I'm just not creating, I have to create a lot of content to help express what Ladies Get Paid is and provide value. And I'm just not doing it. I am procrastinating the shit out of this. Okay. Then now what I'm doing is an experiment is starting tomorrow, Monday through Friday, although it'll start tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a LinkedIn Live. It's also going to stream simultaneously to YouTube think I'm also going to do an Instagram live, and it's going to be me sharing a story. Shout outs to the community. I mean, I'll send you more information later by email, but it's a way of holding me accountable to actually doing it. I realized I'm not going to do it unless there's a live component, because what I do, it's all about the community. Like, it's actually not about the content. It's about us to be together and to share. That's an experiment though. That's an experiment. And so within that experiment, I'm going to be analyzing what parts of it did I experience resistance? Like, I'm going to have to, it's not like the only experiment is going live. I'm going to have to be doing experiments within it as well. It just takes the pressure off. So now I'm not nervous. Now I don't beat myself up if I quote fail. It's just data. If I'm sounding really hyper, it's because I chugged the shit out of this coffee. So thank you. Thanks, Alfred. Okay. So there are so many ways that you can run experiments in your life, but let me give you just a little prompt for us to work on together. Once we do this, we'll spend, I think, we'll go off of however long we feel like we want to go off of it. And then we'll do breakouts for everybody to connect with each other, because the best part about this, I think, is really kind of the networking. It's not me, and I know that. But let me tell you the prompt that I would love for us to, brainstorm together here in the chat, and those who are brave to unmute, and then we'll go into the networking. So I would say, let's look at experiments that you want to run around your resistance, any resistance you have around doing, right? So if there's certain things that you think, you want to do or not, or you want to do less of, right? Behaviors. Feeling, okay? Are there experiments you can run? Because this would be certain feelings that you have around yourself, or around the world you'd like to change, right? A lot of times that has to do with mindset. And then being, experiments you can run that just help you put gas in the tank, so to speak. So to me, being is when you are just tapped into your intuition. It's kind of it's the journaling in the morning. It's just practicing ways in which you're not defining yourself by your accomplishments, by your outcomes. It's not about performance. It's about really getting to know who you are at a human being level. Right? This is to me, I look at this as putting gas in the tank, whereas experiments around doing and feeling are more in the moment when you're driving the car. Okay. And I'm happy to give more examples. By the way, I came up with this exercise this morning on a jog. So if it doesn't make sense to you, I'm not offended, and we can talk about this in any other way. But I just want us to start again. End of day. So proud of the way I was in the world today. Ooh, how did I get here? What was all like a video game? Resistance popping in my way, internal, external, taking a big step back. What are experiments I can run to make the conditions easier for myself to move through that resistance? And ways to begin could be, are there experiments to run around how I do things in the world, how I feel in the world, and how I just am, my being in the world? Ooh, that's a lot, especially for 9 in the morning if you are East Coast time. Give me questions, my loves. Ask me things. Let's have a conversation. If you would like to come on mute off of mute. Oh, you're not allowed to do that. Because I changed. So let me go ahead and change the settings real quick. You can also put it in the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna allow you to unmute yourself. If anybody wants to come unmute, I'm putting this in the gallery view. Hello. Good to see you all. I'm seeing some familiar faces. Always Nicole Jeter with her little Peloton in the back. She reminded me I gotta go. It's looking at my, holding my laundry over there. I see Nisha. Okay. Anyone want to share any thoughts around that exercise of running a series of experiments around resistance? Okay, so Nisha, good stuff here. So my resistances are anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, making never-ending to-do lists, staying on track, staying focused. Okay, so here are things that she does. I set app times on my phone because I get so sucked into Instagram, LinkedIn, constantly checking my email for offers. What I love about this is she is not relying on her willpower, okay? We oftentimes think that's what we're supposed to do here. We're already spending so much damn energy on everything else in our life. Why would you add another thing for your energy to have to deal with? So yeah, make life easier for yourself. Let your app tell you, okay? Was recently diagnosed with ADHD. Now I feel like a duh, of course. Yes, I hear you. becoming more cognizant of why my brain works the way that it does and how I can use it to my advantage, 1,000%. Organize your series of experiments around how you actually are / want to be in this world. So starting with the how you actually are, right? Like if you have a certain way of doing things, don't try to change it, organize around it. You know, if you get your best ideas at night, instead of trying to force yourself to go to sleep early, how about that's when you do your work, right? I mean, again, it's a longer thing. We can talk about, you know, sometimes you can't always organize your life around how you want, but I would say first, you're very much tapping into what's your natural proclivity, right? Taking better care of myself by keeping doctor's appointments. I'm going to break that down even further though, because has anyone else had trouble? They're like, oh, I know I need to make this doctor's appointment and you keep putting it off. Or going to the post office. Why does it take us so long to get to the post office? So it's like, how would you run a series of experiments to get you to do your errands more, right? Because sometimes, again, like for you, keeping doctor's appointments, that might be something that you just by reminding yourself, you do it. But for me, I have that on my to-do list. I look at it every day, yet I still don't do it.
For that, I tried to like, if it's the fact that like I have to go out to do this one thing, I'm like, I have to like make myself presentable, get out of the house for this one task. So I'll try to like cluster things together. Like I'm going to go to the post office, I'm going to go grocery shopping, and I'm going to go, do whatever I have to do while I'm out. And I'll just try to like lump it into one task. So like this one major task of going out has like 4 mini tasks in it. And it's like, okay, now I'm not leaving the house 4 times. I'm leaving the house 1 time and I'm going to get all of this stuff done. And I can do it without like that extra effort.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here's the thing about that. I love it. That would work for me, but I could also see somebody else going, that's too much. And that's why they don't do it, right? If like everything is all lumped together. And so would somebody else, an experiment could be, what would it be if every day I stopped working at 4:30 p.m. every day? Because I'm getting very focused about my work and I'm managing my time and energy correctly. And that is my time for errands, whatever they are. And then, but that's the experiment, right? And part of the figuring out if it works for you is you really have to write down, how did it feel in the moment? How did it feel after? I know this is extra work to have to document all this stuff, but again, like a good little scientist, I mean, if you're not collecting the data, we don't have anything to go off of here. And giving yourself a challenge of, all right, I'm doing it for a week, 2 weeks? Like how long is the required length of time in order to feel like you've collected enough data about it as well? So I love this. That was super good. Catherine's great, right? She says it gives herself a small treat after finishing a major task. Yeah. Like going for coffee after a dreaded appointment. Yes. This is good. Y'all have really good experiments. What else? Tell me, everything from, I would encourage us to get as creative as possible to look at the way that we look at what is an experiment even to begin with, okay? Things like, I've talked about this before. If you're having writer's block, sitting down, making yourself do those cover letters or whatever it is, why don't you go try experimenting by writing it on your phone while you're lying down, right? You're in like a relaxed pose, and you're not gonna necessarily press submit, you'll make sure it gets edited and, looks good and all that. But just to get started, changing the environment in which you were even running the experiment, that is an experiment in and of itself, right? Experiment could be, all right, I'm starting to feel anxiety. Okay, all I'm going to do is just press, touch my hand on my heart and just stop and acknowledge the anxiety. And I'm going to thank it. Thank you, anxiety. And that's it. Of course, there's more things you can do, but knowing that we are now introducing a new behavior into a way that you've always operated, you're not going to be consistent with it if it isn't doable. So that would be a great place to start. So again, in all of this, when you design these experiments, I encourage you to analyze those experiments and see if you can even break them down further for yourself. What's a mini experiment within that experiment? And then what's going to be your kind of analytical container to make sure that you really are stepping back and going, okay, when I did this thing, or when I felt this way, or took this action, whatever it is, how did it make meaningful change? Did I feel lighter? But also, what did it require to actually do that experiment? Maybe you ended up putting too much effort to actually run the experiment. It's not worth it. And it's kind of clunky and doesn't fit into your day. So that's where it's really good for us to share these things, because again, until it's concrete, like me speaking in this way, it feels a little abstract. But the minute you make these examples for yourself and start running them as experiments, man, you're going to see your life really change in the best way. I'm seeing, okay, Lola's idea. Where's Lola's idea? Do you want to jump on? Would you like to unmute yourself? Oh, here we go. Thanks to the Zoom. Oh, I sent a cold email to someone who has my dream job, and we had coffee last week, and they're so happy to help me with my job search. Even if nothing comes out of it, it was very firm and motivating. Yay. Guess what though? Quote, nothing comes out of it. First of all, you already got something out of it because you proved to yourself that you can just do outreach to somebody. That was an experiment, right? Outreach. Second, even if you don't get whatever next job it is that you want, this person is a relationship you've now started building. You don't know where they're going to go. They might end up hiring you like in 5 years for a job, or you might hire them, right? So that's what's sort of beautiful about the universe is, we put ourselves out there, but we let the world kind of continue around us, and we just can take what works for us. Great. Okay. Anyone want to go off, share experiments they might run, or any questions for me? I know that was a lot of info that I threw at you. But I'm also happy to answer questions after we do the breakouts, which we're going to head into in just a minute. I would love in those breakouts, you can structure it however you want. Here are some prompts that oftentimes we do, which is here's something that I'm looking for, and a challenge I'm having in getting it. And here's something I'm happy to help you with. But I think for today, if we want to do the resistance question of like, what is maybe just 1 or 2 experiments we can run this week, like the major resistance we're feeling, breaking it down and finding a ways to like experiment in how we approach that challenge. I think that would be really good. I think I might actually do 2. We're going to do 2, just pair you with one other person, since this is pretty intense to talk through resistance and experiments in shifting resistance. Let me answer questions before, and then we'll switch. I'll get you guys to meet, we'll do, I think, maybe 10 minutes, 2 rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. And then we'll get back. And if you met somebody that you think was awesome and you want to give them a shout out or talk about your own resistance, we'll do a final brainstorming session together, if that sounds good. So before I put us into those breakout rooms, this is your time to ask me any more questions. And of course, by the way, you're adults. You don't have to do anything I just said. You can talk about whatever. Talk shit about me. It's fine. Don't talk shit about me. So any questions? If not, let's see the chat. Oh, we lost 10 people, 11 people. People were like, I don't want to do breakouts. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording.
Heard of it, but
Sorry, I just want to record because everything that you're about to say is going to be super helpful to lots of people. By the way, if you all were curious, we had, I think, 160 people registered for today. So even though it's only about 35 of us right now and 50 earlier, that there's a whole community that watches these after the fact and always send me beautiful notes commenting on things that they learned and how you made them feel. So hope that's okay with you that I've just pressed record.
yeah, definitely. Well, I wanted to share that Nicole inspired me to start using Teal. It's, from what I understand, it's a platform where you can just get organized with the job hunt. And maybe Nicole, if you want to share more, you can, but no pressure. But I feel very inspired to use it. So thank you.
Sure. I'm happy to hop on and share. I think I heard it within this group, and I've been using it just to keep track of all of the job positions I'm applying to. I think my favorite feature is that it highlights the different keywords from the job description. So that's just saved me a lot of time and energy in such a tedious process. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, they're awesome. I've reached out to them and to figure out, I want to get David, who founded it, on to do a regular Ask Me Anything, because you all submit great questions that I can answer, but he should answer. So stay tuned for that. I'm really glad you brought them up. All right, let's do another breakout. So let's just meet another group of people for the next 10 minutes. We'll come back together and then share, if you met somebody cool, learn something new, if there's an experiment you're committing to move through your resistance or work with your resistance this week. We'll do that next. All right. Okay. All right, recording in progress. My brave souls, tell me, who'd you meet? How was it? Whether you want to introduce them because they're doing awesome things, or you just thought they had a great energy and you want people to know about them, and or if you want to talk about any kind of resistance, your own your own little Mario Kart obstacles coming in your way, and how you're going to design a series of little experiments to just figure out new ways to make life easier. I would welcome you to the stage, to the proverbial stage in the final minutes. No pressure at all. It's all good, safe space. I mean, listen, I started this by, showing you my ovulation kit. So anyone would like to unmute? I'm seeing some laughter happening. Octavia, I see you laughing.
I met with Sheba right now, and I also met with Lori in a previous room, and it was very amazing. They gave me a lot of great advice, and I really do appreciate speaking in a room with professionals that really do give advice and are able to give conducive feedback, because this is something I've needed for a while, just somebody to look at what's going on with my resume, or even just talk about it. It's been a journey, to be honest, for the last 4 months. So yeah, I talked to 2 amazing ladies, so I'm really just grateful that I had that conversation with both of them.
Hell yeah. And by the way, you totally don't have to show your face. In this, voice is great. So I appreciate you speaking up and not feeling the pressure to have to put on the video. Could you give us actually a little bit more specifics about what in particular in that advice was resonant for you? Because I'm sure that there are so many people here who could use it, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that was said as well, that they both did give me similar advice. I'd say the most important highlight would be community building, and finding people to connect with. And to be quite honest, the last 4 months have been very isolating for me as well. So I haven't really built relationships with people. I haven't really talked to anyone. And the reason I found this actually was from a trade program that I'm a part of. It's called Climb Higher. And we have a Slack message board for alumni and current students. And that's kind of how I found this place, because somebody had posted it on our Slack channel. And I was like, you know what? I really have been isolating myself, to be quite honest. I have really been, haven't been really building relationships with anyone. So I think that would be the highlight of it all, just finding other professional women to connect with and kind of building from there. And the funny thing is, we talked about social capital in that program as well, that it's the most important thing to build, especially in today's world. I completely glossed over it, and I haven't really been building any social capital. I've just been completely isolated, and it's nice to be a part of a group of women that are talking about this and are kind of dealing with the same thing. Maybe not exact same thing, but dealing with obstacles themselves.
I would say, when I mentioned at the very beginning of all of the various resistances that we experience in our lives, if you could try to pinpoint the ones that if you were to address them first, they will have that cascade effect. I absolutely think the quote, building social capital, it's just relationships and feeling connected to other people. That is probably the number one, A, for just confidence building, knowing you're not alone, and B, for the introductions that they can make for you. That not everything has to be or should even be a cold email or a cold application, that it should come from these, the way that we connect one another to each other. So I'm actually going to drop in, oh good, looks like the spreadsheet. There was a spreadsheet that was made in last last time of everybody who joins these, if they want to stay connected, let me post it in the chat. We also have a private online group. It's free, or a platform. It's called Circle. You'll get all the instructions for how to join in the email that I send out. So stay in touch that way. So don't feel like this is your one chance, let's like take what you have from today and integrate every day for the rest of the week how you're going to be building on the things you learn and the people that you meet. I really love that you shared that. There was somebody who had raised their hand which was so polite. I'm usually like, just unmute, jump on. But oh, there I see. Angie, was it you, my love? I'm going to ask you to unmute if you want to come on and share what you learned, who you met, any words of wisdom in your journey. That would be awesome.
Hello, guys. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire, for this space. I wanted to share an advice that I've been sharing with some girls I've been meeting, is that use the power of Twitter on Instagram, looking for jobs. I found, I've been finding many job postings there, especially for specialized or particular files as me, and looking a job in the impact investing file, sustainability, ESG, all this stuff. And I have found many job postings by just searching in the search bar in these social media apps, and it's been interesting. So you may try it out.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you've been finding job postings on Instagram.
Yeah, as
Okay.
hashtag, you may find like, you may search like hashtag job postings in the file that you are looking at. So you may try that. I have found many interesting jobs there. So
really, oh, I love that. That's great. And by the way, a conversation we had in the last time was people talking about, and by people I mean me as well, saying how we hate having to post on social media, especially, feels like we're constantly asking people to help us. Well, this is a great example of where you, if you're looking for work, could post about, hey, I'm looking for work and here's something that I found helpful, because now by sharing that, you're providing value for other people.
yeah.
Well, again, still doing the double duty of expressing your needs, right? So that was awesome. So I recommend, if anybody, you go ahead and use the hashtags on Instagram. If you find job opportunities that way, we could all be posting on LinkedIn, et cetera, just sharing that piece of advice and, credit it back to Angie. So that's great.
You're welcome.
And, I got a question here from Molly. I know technically we're 5 minutes past, but fuck it. I own this company, so I'm going to keep talking. She says, will you please provide info on Pro and your coaching? Oh, both lovely ladies I met shared how helpful each of these were. Ooh, you must have met with Lexi. I don't know if you did. Oh, you did. Okay. So let me tell you guys, the Pro, so ladies get paid totally free if you want to join. Tons of our events are free, and also our online platform. We use Slack and Circle, these two different platforms. But if you get the Pro membership, there's a monthly meetup with me that's group coaching. You also get all 100, so there's 100 hours of videos in our video library. You go to the courses page. A lot of them are $14.99, but if you have a Pro membership, you get access to all of them for free. Also, whenever we do things like boot camps, or come out with like really high price tickets, oftentimes you'll get it for free or half price. So considering it's only $15 a month to do that, I mean, it's going to pay for itself within two video downloads. You've already saved money. And also it's cheaper if you do it for the year. So the $15 a month is a monthly, and that'll be more expensive. So I encourage you to just lock in the annual rate. I think I have a discount code for you all also on that front. So open your email, I will send it to you. In terms of coaching, well, I just raised my prices. Let me give you a little insight into how I raise my prices, because if you're all wondering for yourself, if you're a freelancer or trying to determine, gosh, how much should I charge for something? I decided to increase my price to what my therapist charges me. Okay, like that's just a little background information, because she's super helpful to me. I know I'm super helpful to other people. There's a lot that I learn from her in our sessions that I then take with me into my coaching sessions for other people. So I looked at it and I was like, she was charging just a little bit more than me. And I thought, why would I not charge the same? I mean, at some point, maybe I'll surpass her. But if anyone's wondering, I'm debating on pricing, maybe just look at the people who help you in your life and how much they charge and up your prices. So I'm also going to send out a link to that if anyone wants to do coaching with me. I did get more expensive. However, I am about to launch, and this is actually courtesy of inspiration from work that I did with Lexi, a series of interview prep. So it would be cheaper if you buy it as 3 package, and we will dig deep, deep, deep into jobs that you really want, analyzing the shit out of the job description, going through your past, finding great examples that speak to what the job description says and not just what they say, but also reading in between the lines. That's important. Developing a, cohesive narrative, a concise, compelling narrative, making sure that you're doing it, in person, virtually, and also online in terms of your LinkedIn. So finding ways that we can work together that's specific to you, that helps, speaks to your, what your needs are, but also your ability to pay. So we'll always have payment plans for anything that's a high ticket price. There'll be discounts, payment plans, things like that. But I am personally committing to myself to upping my prices this year. Quite frankly, because, having a baby, if I can't do it for me, I got to do it for the baby. That's one way to, yeah. And I have no, something about when another thing is in your life, it's like, I'm treating my body so much better knowing there's a baby. Isn't that sad? I'm charging more, not for me, but for the baby. It's like, as women, we can't just do things because we want them. It's like, oh, but this is for the baby. Somehow it makes it easier. And I'll be the first to admit that, even though ladies get paid, I'm here with you in all my struggles of figuring life out, figuring out my worth, pricing. So I appreciate with you all. It's an experiment together. That's for fucking sure. Right. All right. We are at time officially. Thank you so much. But before you go, I want you all to just go to ladiesgetpaid.com. I'm going to just put it in the chat right here. Nope, I'm not putting it in the chat. That was a different thing. Ladiesgetpaid.com, but not just that. I want you to go to the events page because we have, for the first time in a long time, actual events that are on our website. Took me now. Okay, so here's what we're doing. The events, they're still free. Starting tomorrow at noon Pacific time. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. Come to LinkedIn. So follow Ladies Get Paid on LinkedIn. Make sure there's multiple Ladies Get Paid pages on there. Go to the one that has the blue background with the money scrunchie. Ladies Get Paid. There's about 18,000 followers on there. You should also follow me, Claire Wasserman. I'll put a link in the email. Don't worry. At that time, for the next 90 days, Monday through Friday, we're going to check in. Okay. So you don't have to wait until these times on Monday for us to all get together. I have wild stories to share about so many things in my life. This is a time for me to share those stories. But what I'm also going to be doing, and this is where I need your help, and this is where you come in, I'm looking for your stories that I want to highlight. So I'm going to be sending out a list of themes that I have really wild stories to share about, that I know you have stories to share too. And depending on what I get back, I may invite you up and we can do a conversation like this, or maybe you leave a voicemail and I just play the voicemail. You don't have to identify yourself. We may keep this totally anonymous because you may not want to ID yourself. So I'm talking about stories of getting fired, right? Crazy stories of being fired, or stories of quitting our jobs, or stories of working with our wives or husbands, or best friends, right? What happens then? Times when we've had to stand up or speak up about something, right? These just experiences that take so much courage to go through. I want to really show us that we're not alone. And so a way I think to do that is by having a consistent check-in time. And again, I'll kick it off with my story, but I want to hear yours. So please open your email when I send it to you later today with today's recording, link to all of the amazing, offerings that I mentioned. But again, most importantly, it's about you, your stories, and also how we can make these experiences even more helpful. I already got a piece of advice of, could we pair people based on industry or location, right? Things like that. And again, in the vein of experiments, yeah, let's experiment. All right. So I would say see you Monday, but no, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. And they get recorded. So don't worry if you can't come, but chances are you're overworking and you need to use this as a break, and, or you procrastinate. And so you might as well procrastinate with the rest of us. You fucking got it, people. We do. We're on it. This is life. Run your experiments. Keep me posted. I'll do as well. Go babies. Go those of us who don't want babies. All of it. Love you very much. You're the best. See you tomorrow.